So welcome to this 2017 annual forecast. So this is your astrological weather report with your modern shaman Maria Maria in RainbowLand, also known as Maria Hjelmborg. I have my ephemeris with me, the Astrological Bible, with all the information about the positions of the stars for 51 years, from 2000 to 2050. But we are going to talk about 2017. And this will be a year that takes us into the light if we choose to do our homework in the class of life. Because this is what we need to do this year. Alright, so I'm going to show you the ephemeris here using my love stick. Here's December 2016. Let's just start with January 17, since this is the month we want to talk about. Yeah, well, I draw a little bit in it, as you can see, because that's the way I do it when I calculate something. I like that this is a personal thing. So this is an ephemeris. It shows us where the placements of the Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune and Pluto throughout the months. And it also shows the notes of the moons, the true note, the mean note, etc. Not going to go into all the different aspects here, and also the declinations, but as the main thing, it shows the positions of the planets in degrees, and if it's going retrograde or moving direct. Furthermore, you can see here, down here, the moon, when it's new and when it's full and when it's declining and waning. And you will see in which signs the things are going on, of course, because this is what we look for in astrology in general. Over here we have aspects of the different days. So as you can see, for me now, making a year report, I don't want to go too much into the specific days, even though I have to look at if something particular is going on. So it's a great grand study beforehand to make an interpretation like this. So this is January, February, March, April, etc., etc. And then you can see here that we're pretty clean here in January and February when it comes to retrogrades. But Mercury were in its shadow until late, or are in its shadow until late January. So therefore, when Mercury is retrograde, it's a very introvert time, and things are, we're dealing with past issues that are kind of like being cleaned up and ended. So things are starting to move more forward as we come here to the 28th, and then we have like a week of time of really moving direct with everything, and it's going to get a little too much. And then things start going backwards. I'm not going to go into the details right now. You'll see that in my report on the beach of Marbæk. It's just to give you an overview of what I am looking at, or looking for. So here, for example, I can see, okay, Jupiter is in Libra, 22 degrees, moving retrograde. And then when I look for aspects, I will look here, like here's Jupiter in March 2017, moving through Libra. That's the sign of the scales, moving through Libra here. And then I will look, okay, where do we have the other planets, like in degrees? Okay, we have Saturn in 26 degrees, it's close enough. Jupiter in 22, Saturn in Sag in 26 degrees here on the 1st of March. And we have Uranus at 22 degrees. So those are exactly in oppositions, Jupiter and Uranus. And so on and so forth. I look through the whole year to see which aspects are they making, when are they going retrograde, when are they moving forward, at which times are they moving into more challenging positions, like Mars in Cancer, for example. And when are things moving forward. But many things are happening, so you can't just talk about a total moving forward, a total moving backward. And also what is backwards and forwards, because it's like when you reach a certain level of moving forward, you reach a point where now you can't put anything anymore on your plate. You have to digest what just you just started, you have to finish it. You have to. So there's really there's nothing bad in here, even though we talk about malefic planets like Saturn and Mars. It's all good at the end. They all have a function, and we cannot live without one of the signs or one of the planets. It's all energy, and we represent different energies in the zodiac, each one of us. So we have to respect others for who they are, even though we are. For example, let's say some people would say that I was a little very, very energetic, is what I'm always told. But I also have the calm side. People just don't see it because I'm introverted when I'm that calm. I'm totally in silence and peace for grand periods of time. But people with a lot of earth, for example, can find people with a lot of energy and fire and air, like being too much or too grounded, the other way around or something like that. When we have to look at it in a greater perspective and we dig into it, we can feel and see that there's use for all of us, for all the energy there. There's no bad energy as such, because it's all needed in the cycle. But I just wanted to show you the zodiac, and I call it the Bible just in a fun way, because it's all just numbers actually. But it's like showing the positions of the planets in the sky. When I mention a sign and you don't get it, it's okay. Just note the essence of it. I only mentioned it shortly here in the beginning of the program before every new explanation. For the advanced astrology people out there, you will be able to read the technical explanations at the bottom where I have text lines, and also we'll have other programs where you can go into it more thoroughly. But this is both for beginners and for the more advanced people. As we get into the program, there will be less astro and more to the point. So see you on the beach. Ciao. The reason why I'm choosing to show you the month of May is because we have a turning point in May. But before that, I will start talking a little bit about that you cannot just look at 1 year without looking at the years ahead and the years that came before when you talk astrologically. So we've been through a lot of purging and purifying and cleansing through 16, but also since 2012 we have been in situations where our relationships with Saturn through Libra and Scorpio, that was already in 2009, I believe, that we started with Saturn through Libra. Let's walk a little bit down here. We are in Denmark, Marbæk, Esbjerg, Denmark, on the west coast of the little country called Denmark, where I reside right now. And look at this spectacular view. So we have been cleaning out in our relationships, in our own shadow sides, through Scorpio, and now we have Saturn in Sag. So as we have a lot of things going on always in the zodiac, we cannot just talk about that, well, if that transition ends, then that was it. No, because we have a lot of different planets overlapping the other, and therefore we cannot talk about that something is just ended. We can talk about that with specific situations, but there will always be differences depending on our own astrology and horoscope personally. This is a collective report, so this is like the general headlines for us. What we need to remember when we go through this year and feel, for example, with the Uranus in Aries, our lives need to change. We need to learn to stand on our own feet. And through this Uranian energy, because Uranus is sudden change and revelations, but it's like abrupt and it can feel chaotic and like, I don't know what to do. And since it's in Aries, which is the sign that is all about the self, I am, that's the Aries is, I am like this, and the Taurus is, I have, etc. So who are you? When Uranus is there, it's breaking down who you are, so that you can build it up again in a hopefully renewed and altered way. But the thing is that with Uranus, it's never that subtle, because it's like a lightning flash, like bam, and then the change happens. You're like, and if you are too caught up in the security and you're not in the flow, you're not trusting in life or God, you haven't found that intuition where you trust in things, you can panic. Then it will feel like this. Look at this. Suddenly you're like, this is Uranus. Uranus came and it blew a hole into the ground like this, and you're like, oh, how can I get over this hole? I never tried that before. I can slip and fall and my neck will break and all that kind of stuff. But then, as we have Neptune and Black Moon Lilith in Pisces, we can use the good side of the Piscean energy, which is use your intuition and your connection with God. But do you have that connection? Do you have that connection with God? Well, take a look here and imagine you were standing here by this ocean. You cannot hear it in the recording, but I can hear the waves kick in. I can feel the breath of nature, the breath of God. And that's what you need to do. If you don't recognize the voice of God, here's a really sweet dog passing by that always draws my attention. It's a Labrador Retriever. I have a yellow one, it's black. I'm trying to focus. But that's another way of connecting. If you have an animal back home, the animal is always in the moment. The dog, for example, is always in the moment. It's very grounded. It has 4 legs, you know, totally contact with the ground, and it's just like with an open heart, being in the moment. Unless we bleeped it up a little too much as human beings, but a dog in its own nature and essence is connected all the time. It's in the moment, because that's where we find God. It's when we're totally present, because God is not some guy up in the sky feeding little doves or something. We are God. Everything is God. It's energy, it's love. It's the love that connects us, the glue that connects us. So if we get out of our heads, out of the boxes, out of this patriarchal way of thinking or scientific society, which we've had for so many years, where it's about me, power, the leaders are the men, the strong men who could control people, and it was all about finding ways to prove that, okay, it's only true if 100 people can get to the same result testing it. But if that's what you come from, you're going to have a problem this year, because this year is the last year of Saturn for 27 years. Saturn is a 29.5-year cycle. This will be the last time for that long a period we will have Saturn in Sag. So the need for truth is this year, and as we have that, we have more things, because 2017 is full of aspects between the big planets, the outer planets, where it's deep, profound things in our lives that need to change, because we have Jupiter, and I'll explain more of the astrological aspects of it in the studio at the end of the program. But I need to say this though, for those who are not that much into astrology. I'll get back to the points afterwards. Uranus is in Aries. Aries is me, my identity. Who am I? Uranus is tearing apart who you were, making it unstable, uncomfortable, and it's in opposition to Jupiter, which is in Libra. And Libra is the sign of relationships. And Jupiter is expanding. It wants to expand and be positive, and more. We want a better relationship. It cleans up. It wants to purify the relationship. And also we have Black Moon Lilith later on. Later on in February, I think it is, Black Moon Lilith moves into Sag. I think it's actually Monday, the 13th of February. Black Moon Lilith moves into Sag. So we have the need for truth. Black Moon Lilith in Sag is kind of like, what can we call it? Because it's the bitch goddess, it's the shadow side of, the shadow of truth will be revealed. While we have Jupiter in Libra, which is the relationship. We need the truth to come out in our relationships. and we need the honesty. If we want to evolve through our relationships, because that's what it is. When Jupiter is in Libra, it wants relationship to work. It wants you to grow and expand through your relationships. So you cannot just go out on your own. No, I'm going to find out my own way. I want it to be like my way. No, because this year you have to learn through your relationships. So if something feels like, oh, here's a clash, and you're like, no, I don't want to deal with that shit. That bitch is whatever, or that guy's just bleeped up in some way or the other. That's not going to work. You are going to have to see the other person's perspective or side of the story. That's the case this year, whether you like it or not. And the thing is that it's not necessarily going to be that easy, but once we get through it, the result will benefit you. We've had Jupiter through the personal signs for 6 years. While now it's going through the external, instead of the internal, it's going through the external signs. So now it's about not just me, it's about the others, people around us, society, the system. And we have Pluto in Capricorn, which is breaking down the old established system, the old established political systems, religious systems, distrust, monetary systems, everything. We have a good cameraman, he's awake. That's good. He already learned the lesson. And before we go on, we'll just check the sound for a second, because we've had some technical problems. So before I keep on riding this wave, we need to check if the sound is all right. So the sound is working. What a miracle. Actually, I'm just going to check one last thing while I'm talking. So the thing is that what I talked about before was that the breakdown of the established systems is a part of this, what I told you before, about honesty and dishonesty coming to life, because in Sag, truth is revealed. And Saturn is going through Sag. So Saturn is cutting to the bone and saying, hey man, what's the truth? We no longer want the crap being served to us. We went through Scorpio already with Saturn, and we also had Mars there, and we even had the Mars retrograde there. So we went through all the hidden, unconscious layers of the darker side of us. Now we need the truth, but we have Neptune in Pisces. So Neptune is like, it can be like very deceiving. It can be visions, strong visions of God, but it can also be illusion. And Saturn is not going to want this illusion to continue. So it wants the truth. And through the media, Pisces is the media, and we have Neptune there. So in the media has been for a long time. This is no news, but for a long time, seen from my perspective, I'm not gonna tell you to think what I think. I think you should discover for yourself, of course. This is what Uranus in Aries says. You have to go in, instead of following the external authorities, the external leaders. Perhaps you have had a tendency of following some guru, some political leader you thought was like all that, or some movie star or billionaire who made all this money, and he was just like, I want to be like this guy. And you suddenly discover that, I'm not sure if this guy is that accurate. I'm not going to mention any political leaders now, just being elected as an example, but you can figure out for yourself who I'm talking about. But the thing is that with Uranus and Aries, you have to become your own leader, so that you can trust your intuition and you can be your own God master. Because that's where you find it. It's not that you become, no, I'm the God, I'm the master. No, it's a subtle voice without words, or sometimes with words. You just feel, you know it when it's there. And you find it through the silence. You find it through nature, Saturn in Sag. You find it through the peace within. You have to learn how to be silent. you rejuvenate in nature. You have to get some kind of a rebirth. This is the last year, or in 2018, Uranus moves into Taurus. It's now, folks. We need to do it now. We have fire and air being the dominant elements this year. So this is the year to stop the different decisive illusionary things in your life. You have to break out of that shell. And the media is not necessarily going to help you in any way. Well, when it comes to me, I mean, I don't have a TV, so I don't, it's a long time ago since I boycotted the media. I'm not saying that there's no good programs there. That's not what I'm saying. It's just that there's no aesthetic or moral there. So you have to go into yourself and find out of who can I trust in the media. Do I need to go on the internet and find new news channels, etc.? Because when I say there's no moral, it's not like in every TV station there's no moral. But the general thing has been to lift up whatever was sensational. So we just needed sensation or tragical thing or drama. Then you drew the ego into the story, and then you had people's attention. More viewers, more money, more power, and that's why that system has been polluted. So you need to find new news channels to follow, or new or old, or just the right ones for you. And if you have to find your own inner master, you have to look for that voice by cleaning out the old. Find a way of cleaning yourself through meditation and very simple techniques. Of course, you can go to modernshaman.dk where we have different techniques you can use. There's a lot of other systems. I have used, for example, heartfulness as a marvelous and really, for me, was such a great meditation because it's so simple. There's not a lot of blah, 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 blah. No, we are cutting straight to the core, into the heart, opening the heart, clearing out the old. Simple as that. No this and that and you have to, and then someone's going to come and punish you. No, nothing like that. Simplicity. But you have to find your way. And when I talked about, when we opened this one up and we were focusing on May, there's a shift. And this is the notes. Let's move a little bit. And the horoscope, very shortly, we have the nodal axis with the south node and the north node of the moon. You can go to the program about eclipses, which I made with my astrology or hand reader uncle Johan Hjelmborg, and you can find out more about the nodes. But the north node has been in Virgo since September, and what it does in Virgo is that Virgo wants to purify, to purge, to cleanse, to clean out what's no longer serving us. Also, it could be through diseases, through cleaning out our relationships, making our lives healthy, our habits, our daily routines, the people in our life, our work, our jobs, our hobbies, whatever needed to be cleansed. This, since September last year, 16, the North Node was there. And it's still going to be there until May, so the first 5 months, or the end of April, depending if you take the mean node or the true node, because the mean node ends, the North Node ends in Virgo in the 20th of April, and the true node is the start of May. But around that time, the nodal axis will change. The node will go into Leo instead of being in Virgo. So it will be on the Leo Aquarius axis. And there'll be a lot of change then. And before I go into which kind of change there will be on that time, I will start saying that you can expect one of the most positive forward-moving times where new things happen, change happen also in your outer life, and things are moving forward. Maybe a little too rapid at the end of January, from the 28th of January until the 6th of February, where all planets are moving forward. Jupiter will and Venus will be in their shadow, but they will be moving forward. Every planet will be moving forward until the 6th of February. So from the end of January till the start of the beginning of February, there will be a sense of, oh, now everything is moving forward, positive. Yeah, you can see the new perspective. You get things started, and it's a good idea to start things then at a time like this. But then we will very soon go into eclipse season in February, and when eclipses start, sudden rapid changes happen, like bam, and we will start with a lunar eclipse in Leo and end on the 26th of February. We will, on the 26th of February, we will end with a full solar eclipse in Pisces, and that's very important. Let's move into this area. Look at this soil, or whatever you call sandy soil. It's kind of like red. It's so beautiful, and I don't remember the English name for this, but it's purple in the summertime. It smells really good. Does our cameraman remember the word in English? No, doesn't matter. But anyway, even though my nose is full of something else, I can still smell the nice smell here, scent here. Every time we have a lunar eclipse or a solar eclipse season, we call it, twice a year. And this year it falls in February and August. And whenever they appear or happen, it's like, how can we call it? Rudolf Steiner had a way of saying it, my uncle described, but I heard some other astrologists talking about it. It's like the auric field. I think it was Tom Lesher from New Paradigm Astrology. I think he said, like, the auric field of the Earth is being broken or opened or something like that. Another way of putting it could be like, it's like the third dimension gets expanded, and the other dimensions get gateways to enter to our third dimension. Some people talk about that new incarnations will start visiting the Earth. But enough about that. The nodal, when we have the eclipses, and also this eclipse in February, first the lunar eclipse. First the lunar eclipse on the 11th, 10th, if you are in the States, in Europe, I think it's after midnight on the 11th, plus minus. The lunar eclipse is going to be partial because it's 11 degrees from the actual one. But it's enough to kind of like, since it's a lunar eclipse in Leo, start to release, for you to feel like you release the old. You prepare for the solar eclipse on the 26th. You prepare for the solar eclipse, and you release what needs to be released in you. All the pressure, all the things that has been for the last half year building up, all the confrontations you made, all the changes you made will come up again to be released, so that on the 26th you can start this new life. And the interesting thing is that it's the last one in Pisces on the 26th of February, this solar eclipse. So since Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac, it's a real ending of a long period. And we need to make that change. And there can be, it can feel a little harsh in this period up to, I'm not going to go through every week of the year, but the week from the 18th, 19th until the 18th actually, from when the sun enters Pisces until the 27th or something of February, 28th, once we are out of the eclipse, can feel a little bit like, ooh, a little bit blurry. The sun passes over Neptune, and we have this and that happening. In this period, you really need to try to stay grounded, and with Mars and Venus in Aries, not react or act too fast. Stay calm, even though you get an idea like, oh, let's do this, and and let's act upon it, because when we're in Pisces, everything is so rosary pink, and we think, ooh, it's dreamy, it's perfect, it's fantastic. But with the other constellations, we cannot just jump into it during this time. We have to kind of feel into it, see is it right, and perhaps wait until this is over. Then we have Venus moving retrograde in March, in the beginning of March. It will go back through Aries and into Pisces. So it will come back. Now we will also go a little bit back here on our path. It will come back into Pisces and cross over Chiron. So we have the wounded healer. We will go back and deal with some of the wounds from our relationships and look upon them again, what we've been through for the last long time, since this is a time of cleaning out. I always love to find nice beautiful stones. I don't know, there's something about this, so clean. I love to have stones with me. Be a lot of programs about that as well. It's a force of nature, tool of the modern shaman. No, we will have to go through, most of us collectively have been going through a cleansing in our personal relationships. And since Venus also is a significator of this section of our lives, I'll just sit down for a second here. Then this of course will be a theme in our lives. But it's not only Venus moving retrograde into Pisces, where it's not really feeling that perfect or great, it's also Mars later on moving into Taurus. And when Mars do that, Venus will be back into Aries again, and the two planets have shifted signs. That's called mutual reception. So if you see a woman and a man, and the woman has her home and the man has his home, Mars being the man, Venus being the woman, suddenly the man is living in the women's house and the woman is living in the man's house. So the man has to live with a lot of pink curtains and little flowers and candles and a little cat which is scratching him in his face. And the woman has to walk this huge Grand Anois dog, and instead of a beautiful painting of flowers, there's a big bicycle on the wall, and a lot of stuff like that. And the only things you can find in the fridge is like hamburgers and pizza and ketchup. Only ketchup. That's the only salsa you'll find, and for the man it's just like hummus and different things. So it's like the lesson when you shift place like this, which when we get over the humor of it, could be things like, I'll get into the details of this at the end of the program in the studio for those who are interested, but the effects of it could be jealousy. It could be kind of like, what do you call it, wanting to be in control of the other, insecurity, wanting to please too much, not standing up for yourself. A lot of different things where you have to kind of like, what is the English word of rumme? It will come in a minute. You have to kind of like be able to grasp, no, not grasp. Yeah, I'm Danish and now I don't have the dictionary. But it's the thing that, the things that you don't just like that understand, you have to accept. Also, even though you don't understand them, you have to learn to respect and accept where the other people are coming from. Even though it feels so foreign to you, this is the lesson. Because it could have been you. If you were born in the same shoes and same home by the same parents as this, or if you had been a man instead of a woman or vice versa, probably you would have been kind of like the same. So the test and the lesson is here. Both to find this new you, but at the same time embrace, that's the word I was looking for, embrace the other person's perspective, learn to cope with it, grow from your relationship to other people. And then you can have a new sort of relationship. And when we change that individually in our relationships, we make a path like these paths around me. The more people you can see, like this path, no one made this. This is because a lot of people have been walking here, or animals. By us being an example, instead of just saying, no, I can't change the world because it's just little me and we are that many billion people, etc. No, for every time we do something or change something in our own life, make relationships work, for example, in a new way where we are not codependent, we are not dependent on the other, we are standing in our own feet, Uranus and Aries, sovereign, finding sovereignty within us, trusting the guidance we get from within, from our inner master, our own master, and then walking into the relationship, not trying to take or want something for the other, but contributing yourself to the relationship, and that way making it grow. Then we are building or making a new path. And now birds start singing. Now birds start singing. Let's follow the birds. That's synchronicity, that's a sign. Just when I said that. And I'm very much into synchronicity and signs. So if birds start singing at this point, it's a sign of that this was important. This is one of the important details in this forecast for 2017. Stand in your own feet and be receptive and open-hearted towards the other. Then we change the world. Then we create a better future for our children, for other people's children, for our own reincarnation on this earth, if we believe in this. And then we will have a broadened perspective to life. And we will be able to feel God within us, not needing to go into the church, but just walking into nature and see the beauty of this life on this planet. Look at this. So even though we stand on one continent or feel in one house, and we feel, oh, there's such a distance, so far away. It's so far away, this other country on the other side of the ocean. There's always a bridge through our hearts. And this is not just some poetic bullshit bleep. I'm trying to learn not to curse because I have learned that YouTube is gonna make it hard for me to get this out if I curse, because they are searching for the curse words. So I'm doing really well, for the record, in this. Oh, look at this beauty. Look at the beauty of this nature. And now we are getting close to the magical hour. The magical hour. This is just before dawn or dusk. The blue hour, they say in Danish. And this is when nature really starts talking and magic comes to life. And I love this place. I used to come here as a kid. I was away from this town for 12 years. And I always felt it was really rough because we had the ocean out here. Because there's so much wind, and the winds of change, you call them. And this year, there's a lot of air and there's a lot of fire. And that's when we can change things. They feel unstable and chaotic, yes, but we can change things. We will have a period, as I told you, when Mars and Venus switch place in spring, where the themes are this, where you have to cope with the other and accept the others for who they are. There can be some confrontation and clash. And then, when I talked about the nodes before, once we reach May, the end of April, beginning of May, the North Node will shift into Leo. And this is a shift, because it goes from Virgo, which can be a little bit demanding because it has to purify and clean and get new routines, etc. And Earth sign, and which is where my Moon, Saturn and North Node is, by the way. and go into Leo, and I'm an Aries, you probably noticed, with Libra rising, so everything is fast and woo, 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 woo. But I also have the Virgo to ground it and to make me want to read a book like this. But then it goes into Leo, another fire sign. And look here, there's snow. It's cold as hell, and I started out this journey with gloves. I've put them somewhere, and I don't know where, but we will probably find them or not. But anyway, my hands are freezing, but I love it. The snow, that is. Then it goes into Leo, a fire sign. My breath is back. Actually, the battery died, just as I said. I lost my breath. But anyway, North Node in Leo. Now you unfold. We have the North Node in Leo. We still have Saturn in Sag, 2 fire signs. We have Uranus in Aries, fire sign. That's fire is passion. That's me, kind of like, woo, let's do this way. Let's inspire. Let's create something, like this kind of energy. And also, we have Jupiter in air, in Libra. That's my rising sign. The communication, teamwork, or cooperation with our partners. I mean. And it's light energy because the fire is going up, and it's in combination with air. Because once we go further into the end of this year, we will have Saturn moving from Sag into Capricorn. It's gonna come back home. That's really good for Saturn. But it's also gonna feel like we go from fire with the nice grand trine to the sign. Well, not an exact trine, but down to the North Node in Leo. It's the signs are the sister signs, and Uranus over there in Aries, and move into the other cardinal sign of Capricorn. And things are gonna get a little bit more heavy because we're talking about Earth that is more heavy than and we will also in the fall and winter time, we will both have this happening, and we will have Jupiter moving into Scorpio, a more therapeutic sign where we have to go into the deep chambers again and change things, where the passions that we bring into relationships. But it's another energy because that's waters, and like earth and water is more like mud, and we are more down on the ground than before, so we won't be flying that much. So I encourage you this year to clean up in your relations, and also in general get things started you want to start. And for sure, once Mars hit Cancer, wow, it's so beautiful here. Look at this. Once Mars hits Cancer this summer, it's gonna be a little hard, I must admit, because Mars is not really feeling at home in Cancer. I'll get more into this in at the end of the report. So it's gonna be like Mars wants to move, it wants to act, it wants to do something, but it goes into Cancer where we're like feeling things, getting into our inner feminine side, where it's not so action-minded, etc. But not only that, that's not a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but in general, Mars is not at home there. But it can be a good thing in the way, because what's demanding, and it can be a little bit rough or tough here, is that it's gonna oppose Pluto in Capricorn. It's gonna square Uranus as well. So it's gonna activate that Pluto-Uranus square, which we've had since 2012, and that's going to feel like a little bit hardcore, because themes like fear and stuff like that comes up. I remember last year when Mars was in opposition to Pluto, AMG, like I remember kind of like a strong fear of not getting a home. I have my nodal points activated in my own horoscope. I'm just giving an example of the fear of the home being destroyed, or not being able to create a home but also there's a great motivator at that point, because you feel that fear, and you have Uranus as well, creating instability, etc. But it's a great motivator because the thing is that with squares we don't have to fear them. Usually in astrology, a square is like a tricky constellation. Square is 90 degrees angle in the zodiac. You can watch more about how the constellations of the stars in the series I make with my uncle, astrologer and hand reader Johan Hjelmborg, on the Modern Shaman channel, the Maria Maria and RainbowLand YouTube channel, the Modern Shaman series. You will be able to see more about this. But the thing is that once the things are activated through the constellations, like a square, for example, then things start happening, or not. Then they don't happen because of the square, but this is when you can see it. And then we have Aries activated, where we have the independence, the search for being sovereign in ourselves, and altering our own consciousness and who we are, our conception of who we are, who am I. And it's down there in Cancer, which is the home, the family, in opposition to the structural sign of Capricorn, with Pluto there creating fear of instability, fear of not having a home or a solid base or home or a ground. But then it will also enforce or encourage you to act upon it, because Mars is action, and actually try to create that home or create that structure. You before you search for a structure, and this is very important. This is one of the changes this year. Before you search for a structure, perhaps outside of yourself, through, as I mentioned before, the billionaires or the actor or the politician or whoever guru you were following, and you have to find that within yourself. And that's the instability. You're like, who to trust, what to do, where to go, something like that. But because you get scared, you perhaps you hit the bottom, and that will encourage you. Perhaps that's going to encourage you to actually search for a way to create this on your own, and a way to create what you actually take with you, that you cannot lose. And that's the home you create in here. Because our soul, our heart, we have a body, but then we have a heart, and the heart is a million times more intelligent than the brain and the mind. And it expands so much further out than our bodies themselves. So once we clean out the energetic fields, because that's what we can do until May, physically, through eating the way we know we're supposed to, doing the exercise, getting the sleep, not stressing, that's a note I make because I work a little much, treating ourselves nicely, but also through meditation, through cleaning out the past, we create a home in ourselves, in our hearts, which is what's left when we are no longer here physically, when we don't have our Rolls Royce or Skoda or whatever car we have, or bicycle. So this year I encourage you to follow your heart, to try to, wherever you work, whatever you do, whichever partnerships you have in your work or your private life or your friends or whatever, try to be helpful to other people and see what it does for you to be there for others, be a part of the group, not just, oh, it's only me, I take the honor of this work, I did it, it was my idea. That's going to create separation. And with Chiron squaring Saturn, the wound of separation from God and the distrust in, because we no longer have the system. In Denmark, for example, no one believes in the church, the Christianity church anymore. Such a small percentage of the population even registered as Christians. And no one visits the churches. They just close and try to get people in, and no one wants to come in. So we have a need. We cannot just neglect that we have a left side brain and a right side brain. We have the rational need for the toolbox of the language and stuff like that we can all understand, and the material world, because we have a body. We are here as 3D, so we also have the ego. But if we lack the right side of the brain, if we lack the more spiritual part and feeling of connections, we're out of balance. Anything where it's only like this, you know, if you have the two weight, what do you call them? Scales, the scales. If you have the scales here and there's only something here, you know the other one will go up and you will feel an imbalance. So you need to search for the master or God or whatever you want to call it within you, in your heart, through expansion. Use nature, Saturn in Sag, Neptune in Pisces, Chiron in Pisces. Use nature. This is where you reconnect. Don't go into nature to think about solutions. Don't go into nature to like, oh, this is this plant. Like down there I was trying to figure out the name of the plant. Doesn't matter. Stop conceptualizing. Stop trying to put everything in boxes. Go out here just to feel, just to be, and be quiet. Quiet your mind. Stillness. If you have someone like me next to you, tell that person to shut up. Because they talk too much. Those kind of people. I mean, if I weren't to do this report right now and my hands weren't partially falling off because it's that cold, I would feel this immense stillness. Not the camera, if you agree with me. Isn't this really, really beautiful? Yeah. This is immense. It's like such a broad and wide perspective. This place particularly. Go look up Marbæk, M-A-R-B. And then we have a problem because that's a Danish letter. Try A-E-K or just Esbjerg, E-S-B-J-E-R-G, Denmark on Google Earth. And then you'll see where I'm standing. It's so beautiful. Here you are connected to God, and don't tell me there isn't one. Because then I'm going to ask you, what is God to you? And you're like, it's a man in the sky. Good, you don't know what God is. Get out there and try to figure it out. Perfect way of ending this program. Thanks for watching. See you.